I think we can all agree that 2020 was a rough year for, well, everything. But it was an oddly rough year for TVs in particular. There was a lot of over-promising and under-delivering going on, so can we expect 2021 to be any better? Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and as CES starts to wind down and we've heard what Samsung, LG, Sony, and TCL have planned for the year, I find myself looking back on 2020 TVs and all the reviews I did, and yeah, it was a rough year. Even the past few days, there's been some confusion around whether promised updates were going to make it to certain 2020 Sony TV models. How's that for 2020 bleeding into 2021? Anyway, I thought it would be interesting to take a look back, talk about what went right and what went wrong, and then check that crystal ball to see what we should expect from the year ahead. Let's go. Real quick though, did you buy a TV in 2020? And if so, what did you get and how has your experience been so far? You happy? Frustrated? Let me know down in the comments, and while you're at it, like and subscribe so we can continue to have these conversations. Cool? Thanks. I was just thinking back to CES 2020, and first off, I can't believe that was a year ago. But more importantly, I was really excited to start getting these TVs in so I could evaluate them and share my thoughts. So as always, I waited patiently for the spring when TVs usually start shipping, and I waited some more. Point being, TVs came late in 2020. Given the pandemic, this was perfectly understandable. When even one link in the supply chain goes down, then TV production is going to be delayed. I think folks may just be unaware that parts for these TVs come from a bunch of different places, and if the factory that makes the screws that attach the feet for the TV has to shut down for a while, then TVs will be delayed. My hope for 2021 is that the supply chain has stabilized a bit and that production will carry on at a more typical and timely pace. I hope the same for the actual shipping process too, which is a complicated logistics process that took a big hit in 2020, but seems to have stabilized over the past few months. Hopefully those pallets of TVs will make their way overseas on ships, dock in the US on time, and then the trucks carrying the shipping containers will get the TVs to their destinations so they can once again be shipped to their final destination. That would be us. I also hope that these shipping companies will be a little more careful with our TVs this year, because I kid you not, I have never received so many damaged televisions in the 10 years I've been doing this. I received boxes that looked like they were literally kicked off the back of a truck or impaled by a forklift. I don't know if folks just got complacent or what, but I hope those days are well behind us. Factory resets, firmware updates, performance shortfalls. Many of the TVs I tested in 2020 came out of the box needing some kind of help. Some TVs didn't measure up to claims, some didn't look right at all, and as a result, I had to spend hours playing phone tag or email tag trying to sort out the issues. If I had just taken these TVs at face value, then I would have mistakenly reported on these problems which should not have existed. Ultimately, a firmware patch or a factory reset often solved the problem, or in some cases, I had to get a replacement which drug out the review process even further. If I were a customer, I would have found this process extremely frustrating, and I can't help but think that some of you out there may have experienced something similar. The interesting thing is, the review units I received were not pre-production units. They were from the same shipments that went out to retailers. In fact, in many cases, I got these review units well after people were already buying the TVs and taking them home. I understand why. TV shipments were delayed, so by the time they started arriving, they needed to go out to retailers right away. My hope is that things will be less rushed in 2021. If the supply chain and shipping logistics are indeed stabilized, then ideally review units will arrive early, reviewers like me will be able to render our opinions on them, and hopefully offer buying advice before folks start to buy. Not only that, but I think some lessons were learned this year about quality control and quality assurance. I think that the TVs that go out in 2021 need to have proven firmware and processing that delivers on the claims of the manufacturer, so people get what they were expecting right out of the box. No mysteriously crushed blacks, no frame dropping, no underperforming peak brightness, just performance as expected. Now let's talk about HDMI 2.1 in 2020, or the lack of it. I feel like a lot of confusion was generated around HDMI 2.1 because many TV manufacturers were dodging questions about whether their TVs really had the new HDMI standard. Instead of just flat out saying no, they would point to HDMI 2.1 related features that their TVs did support. I understand doing that from a marketing perspective. You don't want folks thinking your TV can't do something that people wanted to do. But as I said before, I don't think expectations were properly managed. If you say your TV can do variable refresh rate, then the assumption is it's going to be able to do other gaming-related features like 4K 120 and auto low latency mode. Instead, what we saw was TVs with HDMI 2.0B ports supporting one feature or another, but because they have lower bandwidth, capped out at 18 gigabits per second, they were limited. Case in point, one manufacturer's TVs offered 120 Hz, but with resolution capped at 1440. Truth be told, only one brand outfitted its entire lineup of OLED TVs with true HDMI 2.1 ports, and even those were capped at 40 gigabits per second instead of 48 gigabits per second. To be fair though, they were HDMI 2.1 ports, and all 4 of the ports supported the new standard. I think 2021 will be different. I think when Sony comes out with its new TV lineup, they will have 2 HDMI 2.1 ports available across the Z9J, A90J, A80J, X95J, and X90J. That's 5 TV series with HDMI 2.1. LG will hold steady, Samsung will step up, and my only question now is where will TCL land? I guess we'll just have to wait to find out. One more thought is around ATSC 3.0, also known as Next Gen TV. This isn't something that's on a lot of people's radars, but the new broadcast standard is rolling out across the nation, and I believe the ATSC is going to start putting some publicity behind it this year. Fortunately, Sony's TVs will support it, and LG's Gallery series will support it, but I don't think we're going to see widespread support in 2021. What I do hope is that there will be some set-top boxes that will essentially add support. So I don't think having the tuner built into the TV necessarily needs to be a factor in a purchase decision, especially since, from what I've seen so far, next-gen TV broadcasters aren't really using the bandwidth for 4K broadcasts like we'd hoped. Instead, it appears we're getting more of the same kind of channels. So that's my prognosis for 2021. I think it will be better for TVs. I think it'll be better for TV customers. I think gamers will be happy with the choices they have. And I think prices are going to come down. TVs will arrive in a more timely manner, and they will function well out of the box. That's what I hope for anyway. We'll find out for sure soon enough. Thanks as always for watching, everyone. Another question for the comments section. Did you hold out on buying a TV in 2020 so you could buy one this year? Let me know down below. Like, subscribe, and here's 2 other videos that I think you'll like.